International Overdose Day is a global event held on August 31st each year and aims to raise awareness of overdose and reduce the stigma of a drug-related death. It also acknowledges the grief felt by family and friends remembering those who have met with death or permanent injury as a result of drug overdose. Overdose Day events are held around the world. They range from community education campaigns to community vigils. Overdose Day spreads the message that the tragedy of overdose death is preventable.
My name is Lynn Ruane and I'm the president of Trinity College's Students' Union, but up until this point I've worked in the community sector, in the addiction and homeless sector for the last 15 years. When I'm thinking back about ODs in the community, right back until when I was maybe 16, 17, when I first started working in the field with young heroin users, they kind of became really acceptant really quick that OD was just something that might happen in terms of their drug use, and they were willing to accept that this might happen, but they tried to find different ways that they could mind each other in the, if one of them OD'd, but they came up with some really kind of off the wall stuff as how you bring somebody around out of an OD, whether it be smack them in the face, burn them with a cigarette lighter, burn them with a cigarette, and they thought that the shock would bring them around out of an OD, which was quite scary because, you know, they didn't have a clue how to bring, so they didn't know about recovery position, didn't know about anything. So it was a piece of work that I ended up doing with them in terms of knowing what to do if somebody OD'd. And I realised from then on, as I start making my way through the services, that OD has become normal. If you're not involved with drugs, or you don't work in drugs, it's a scary prospect, but amongst the drug users and amongst the drug using community, it becomes something that you just have to expect. Or even the conversations I used to hate, if someone passed away from an OD in a community and somebody would say to you like, oh, how did they OD? Oh, how did they die? And you say they OD'd, and you go, oh, all right, as if that was like okay and that was normal, because it was like, sure, the OD, so what do you expect, like, you know? So it becomes accepted, and it's I didn't really, like, when I moved away from that young drug cohort into drug users that were a little bit more experienced and maybe had been using longer, they seemed to OD less than the kids that hadn't quite figured out their tolerance or how much they're able for or what to do. And I suppose the next time then I came around, a lot of ODs would be within the homeless sector. Especially there was one hostel that would just have, some of them would be ODing daily, and you know, within that community and in terms of the workers, there would be a lot of fear. It's quite sad that you're kind of hoping they just don't OD on your watch, and then when you go home, of course you don't want them to OD on someone else's watch either, but you're kind of going, I got through the day without them ODing. I mean, there's times when I've had to flip people over into the recovery position and find them with the needles in their back and stuff and nearly being hit with them, and so you're kind of, there's a double thing going on. You don't want them to OD, but you also don't want to harm yourself in the process, but your first reaction is obviously to try and help someone that's ODing. It was actually, I was walking uptown, totally off the thing, but I was walking uptown a few weeks ago, and there was a lad hunched down outside Dublin Castle, and he was foaming and he was clearly about to go into an OD. So I went over and I was trying to bring him around to give him a sip of water. And then I noticed that the needle was still hanging out, it was crying. So I had my laptop bag and I put that down, and I was trying to tell him to take the needle out because I had nothing, no gloves, no nothing. So I was like, I'm not touching it. So I was trying to get him to take the needle out, but he was just foaming. And then he looked and he came around slightly out of the OD. Now people just walked past, they just walked up and down that road, and people would have just, because they're so either afraid of the drug use or afraid of the OD, or they don't know what to do, or they pretend they can't see it, but they just keep walking while this person is ODing. I just turned them over and into recovery position. But I remember sitting on the bus going like, that's normal, like I've just like had a needle swung at me, put someone in recovery position. I just thought that was extremely sad that that's happened, and I think that that's what it does to communities, that it hardens us, it makes us just think that this is normal, that this is okay, that this is what happens if you're going to decide to use drugs. And if you're a family member of someone that uses drugs, you just kind of keep hoping every day that they don't OD, you know. And instead of I don't know what type of actions are supposed to happen, how you look at OD as how you help people with OD, is how you teach people to keep safe, whether it's just teaching them the recovery position. But I think drug use and the fact that people potentially will die from an overdose is just becoming way too okay with the drug users and then with the people around them.
If you have in any way been affected by issues raised, please contact the Drugs and Alcohol Helpline on 1-800-459-459 or contact drugs.ie.